The question is that the estimates debate be suspended until 2 p.m. on Monday. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. The aforementioned debate is suspended until Monday at 2 p.m.
Mr. Speaker, order number 15 on the supplementary order paper in name of the Honorable Minister of Finance, to move the second reading of the British American Insurance Company Barbados Limited Preservation and of Investment Bill 2020.
Honorable member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, sir, I wish to complete this debate in cognate with order number 16, which speaks to the accompanying resolution, which is related to order number 15.
The question is that order 15 and 16 be debated as a cognate debate. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, this matter before the House this evening has come before, but I just want to be very brief, sir, in just articulating the reason why it has come back in this way. Now, as you would recall, sir, the matter before that we're debating here relates to the British American Insurance Company, which, as you know, sir, became insolvent under the management, sir, of the executives of the CLECO Group. And as a result, sir, the pension fund relating to the former employees with respect to British American, that fund was deemed to be insolvent. And as with everything, sir, the previous administration sought to preserve the fund by being able to give the necessary support. Now, we came to the chamber last year, sir, and we would have provided, as part of what was agreed before, a series of promissory notes, which Sagicor, having taken over the administration of the pension fund on behalf of the employees, would have been in discussion with the previous government, sir, with respect to being able to resolve financially the payouts with respect to the pensions for the former employees. Now, as you know, sir, when this government came to office, our debt to GDP ratio, sir, was in excess of 157% of GDP. And if one certainly included the almost $2 billion in arrears, then that would have put us close to 171% of GDP, which clearly, sir, by any calculation, by any measure, sir, was completely unsustainable. As part of this as well, sir, we would have inherited a situation where the insolvency of CLECO under the bad management of the managers, sir, and compounded, sir, by exposing taxpayers, part of what was foisted on the people of this country, sir, was a situation where the previous government agreed to issue $600 million in bonds with respect to a private company, but only received, sir, some $60 million in assets. And as you know, sir, that by any stretch of imagination, sir, if somebody is prepared to give you 10 times what your house or your car is worth, sir, you would definitely take the deal. And as we came to office, sir, recognizing that certainly, sir, that could never make sense for taxpayers, because the taxpayers never had any involvement, sir, in either the running of CLECO or the running of British American. But, sir, these employees of British American are Barbadians, certainly, sir, I've been visited at my constituency office by one of some of the very vocal employees, and some of them live within my constituency. And it has been a long, sir, difficult, arduous road for these persons because having put their monies in, sir, as you know, as part of how the previous management of CLICO operated, they never sufficiently made the provisions with respect to the pension fund. And of course, sir, once you know that people have made their contributions, then obviously there's a fiduciary responsibility with respect to being able to provide for those pensions. And so the previous government had provided promissory notes. And as you know, sir, a promise is a comfort to a fool. And whilst there's nothing wrong with a promissory note is only really valid, sir, if I trust that you will pay when the time comes for payment. And so when we came to office and recognizing the debt was unsustainable, sir, we passed the resolution as agreed, sir. But then obviously subsequent to the fact that Sagicor itself, sir, had been involved in the debt restructuring, and certainly, sir, within the context of the fact that even though we had right-sized, in a sense, the trajectory with respect to domestic debt, when they looked at their portfolio, sir, they looked at the risks, they then came back to us after and said that they were no longer prepared, sir, to take the promissory notes, having gone through the debt restructuring as far as their part of the portfolio. And let me just say, sir, that so as not to confuse the public, when the judicial managers obviously were seeking to get resolutions to the entire portfolio as it relates to CLICO and British American, then obviously prospective insurance companies would have looked into the parts of the portfolio to determine which part of the business they may be prepared to accept. And therefore, Sagicor's participation in this was related to the fact that they looked at the pension portfolio, which is, as you know, sir, pension funds are always separate, or should always be separate and distinct from the operations of any company, because obviously as employees put up their contributions, or as employers make contributions on behalf of employees, then those funds should be treated separate and distinct, sir, from any operational finances for the company. But alas, sir, as you would not be surprised to know, that was not the case, certainly with CLICO, nor British American. And therefore, this solution was crafted with respect to being able to ensure that those Barbadians, sir, who worked and made their contributions, that this can become whole for them as far as their pension contributions are concerned. And so we have had, sir, to go back, in a sense, and issue to Sagicor bonds that will deliver, sir, a series of cash flow with respect to being able to solve this problem. When we came here last year, sir, the value of the bonds at that time, sir, based on the actuarial calculation, was $8.5 million. So the promissory notes were designed, sir, to deliver that $8.5 million, sir, in order to be able to pay the pensioners. Subsequent to that period, sir, unfortunately, 4 of the persons, sir, pensioners have departed us. And so, in a sense, sir, the revaluation of the portfolio now means that only $8.115 million now, sir, is required on the part of Sagicor now to move forward. And so, therefore, the amendments before the Chamber in both the Principal Act in terms of the preservation of investments for British American, as well as the accompanying resolution, sir, is to provide those 6 bonds structured to deliver the $8.115 million with respect to being able now to pay those persons, those 68 persons, those pensioners, are members of the British American pension plan. Now, a couple of days ago, sir, we passed a supplementary here with respect to the judicial manager of some $500,000, because the payout structure, sir, means that there will be a cash payout on the one hand, which will come from the judicial manager, and therefore the reduction with respect to the pension payments going forward for the 68, sir, given the time frame, has been slightly adjusted by the fact that the judicial manager will just have to pay us more to the estates of those persons who have deceased, and therefore the calculation balances out with respect to what we passed last year and what is here now. But this resolution, sir, is critical because its passing would bring to an end, sir, the suffering, certainly, of these 68 persons who still remain with us as former employees of the British American Insurance Company. The estates of those 4 persons who are no longer with us, sir, will obviously receive the payouts according to the plan rules with respect to the pension fund. And therefore, this government, in seeking to ensure that in the shortest possible time, sir, that we can deliver not just relief, certainly to Barbadians, but to ultimately, sir, minimize the impact on the ordinary taxpayer with respect to this whole sordid situation with CLECO and British American, sir, that we are now in a position, sir, to ensure that these Barbadians can get a sense of comfort that having made certainly contributions, that they have the right to be able to benefit from those contributions as any hard-working person going about their daily business will be able to do, sir. And so this, the Cabinet has already approved, sir, as since it's here, with respect to the fact that we had to rescind, in a sense, the previous resolution that we brought to the Chamber last year, and to replace it now, sir, with these bonds of 8.115 rather than the 8.5 that we would have voted last year. But what this means now, sir, is that the pensioners will actually now start to receive, sir, monies, and therefore, going forward, they will put these 68 persons, sir, in a much better financial situation than they have been certainly over the last 10 years. And so this, we feel, sir, will having had the discussions with Sagicor to expedite the payouts, because they too were concerned at the fact, sir, that given that the series of promissory notes are vary in length, that they wanted greater security with respect to the longer term bonds, and therefore wanted to ensure that given the government's commitment, this government's commitment to reducing its debt to GDP to 60% by 2033, that beyond that now 13-year period to which the bonds that would be issued with respect to this part of the portfolio, that they wanted to ensure that they were in a much more secure circumstance with respect to the portfolio, given that they were, in a sense, sir, stepping in to be able to come to the aid of those pensioners. And we saw the amendments, sir, in the bill speak to the fact that at Clause 2, that you're providing financial assistance to Sagicor in order to facilitate the preservation of the pension plans for the 68 employees. And at Clause 3, sir, that the government of Barbados, by a resolution of both Houses of Parliament, issued the 6 bonds of varying maturities from 5 to 30 years, not exceeding in aggregate the sum of $8.115 million to Sagicor Life Inc. in order to assist Sagicor Life Inc. with the preservation of the pension plan of the 68 employees of the British American Insurance Company, Barbados, and that all principal monies and interest thereon payable in respect of the payment of monies and the issue of 6 bonds authorized under Section 1 are charged on the consolidated fund. And sir, the resolution and the schedule to the resolution just outlines basically the same structure that we would have passed last year, except that the 6 bonds, sir, reflects the reduction in the value, as I would have mentioned, sir, from the 8.5 that we voted last year to 8.115 this year, so that it allows us now, sir, to be able to move forward administratively in order to ensure that these persons can get their pensions arrangements much more secured. And as you know, sir, we have been in the process of winding up not only Rice Life as that has done. There are a few matters still left with respect to that part of the portfolio, which I'll speak to at another time. But the truth is, sir, this government has had to do a lot of cleaning up with respect to a lot of unfinished work, a lot of unkept promises, sir, and we have had to be very, very, very focused in not just stabilizing, sir, the macroeconomic condition, but as we have sought to do, sir, is to ensure that as we go forward, that ordinary Barbadians can see benefits directly from the entire, not just debt restructuring, but the stabilization, sir, of the public finances. And therefore, certainly the amendments before the House, the resolution, sir, allows us to be able to keep faith with respect to those, in particular, these 68 pensioners. And once it passes, sir, the Senate, then Sagicor then is in a position legally, sir, to then start making those payments to the 68 persons. And this, sir, will bring to an end that chapter, sordid chapter, sir, with respect to British American. And notwithstanding, sir, the fact that we have still been able to protect taxpayers from from what clearly, sir, was more than just being taken advantage of, because we have significantly reduced that exposure from 10 times which the previous government had committed this country and ordinary Barbadians to in the resolution of this whole sordid affair. And so, sir, with those few words, I beg to move that this bill be read a second time.
Honourable Member for St. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think it very appropriate that just before I leave this chamber to observe my Sabbath, that I express my strong support to a bill that really has at its essence the protecting of workers in this country, the looking after of ordinary people in Barbados. The Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central would have spoken to, well, in detail to the structuring and all the other things that came along, the tidying up. This bill is a bill that has had 68 persons on edge for a number of years. Having been part of a pension plan, having been part of an organization, and having enjoyed the feeling of some level of security as to their future, persons were through some very, what I've heard others refer to as shady, and that I think probably was the nicest of the comments that I heard. So close to my Sabbath, I don't want to use some of the other terms. I leave that for the Honourable Member for St. Michael West. But people have been left feeling as though they had been treated very badly, not due to any fault of their own, but due, as far as they were concerned, and as far as many Barbadians are concerned, to the misdeeds of others, those who were given the responsibility of taking care of the people of this country. One of the reasons why I thought it necessary to stand to contribute, albeit briefly, to this, is because this Barbados Labour Party government, in spite of the challenges that we faced on coming into office, in spite of the challenges that we still face, while in office. This party, the Labour Party, and I am still fond of the Labour Party. I add Barbados because it's part of our official name, but this is the real Labour Party. This party, in spite of all those challenges, has made a decision that it will, within the confines of the challenges, still seek to reassure these former agents of British American that what they have contributed to, what they expect, will still be looked after by us as a good government. Because we recognize that these people are workers, they are human beings, and they ought to be treated with a certain sense of empathy, but that right must be done. And this government is a government that does right by the people because we've been elected by those people. And even though somebody may say these are only 68 people, I want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, that if this had related to one person, the party that I have the honor to be a member of, and the government that I have the privilege to be a part of, would still have pursued this. Because as far as we are concerned, people have to be looked after. And their legitimate expectations have to be fulfilled as far as is possible. And so this government, and through the Ministry of Finance, and I believe a lot of this would have been led by the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, has sought to frame, within the context of our current cash flow, within the context of the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan, which we know is meeting its targets as we move along, within the context of the extended fund facility that we have with the International Monetary Fund, we have sought, within all of that, to craft a mechanism that will allow those former agents of British American Insurance Company, Barbados Limited, to be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. That some of the persons are no longer with us is really a matter of great regret. And that is probably the part of all of this that saddens me the most. I have to say, after having said that given what I've experienced over the past almost 2 years, in terms of the speed, and I don't even know if I should use that word on a Friday evening, but as it relates to how government works, I think that being able to do this within 2 years, with all the other matters that we have been addressing, all that relate to the development of people, I think the Ministry of Finance ought to be commended for, within a two-year period, having been able to unravel the mess left by the last administration and be able to put this on the table as restitution, as doing right by those persons who were put out of a job initially, but who are looking forward to what will be before them as a result of their work in the past. And I think the ministry ought to be commended for that. Government is a significant employer of people. And while this relates to a private sector situation, government is by this demonstrating, and let me say that government moving to the point where we become an excellent employer is not something that is going to happen overnight. I need to say that, I need to reiterate it, because it is sometimes felt by those outside of government that we say certain things, but that we do not reflect all of them. I will probably use the analogy, or the image, I should say, that I've heard used in the past, and that is to say that government, if we use marine terms, government is a aircraft carrier as opposed to a speedboat. And so to get government fixed often takes a pretty long period of time. This, though, reflects the intention of government. It reflects some of what we've been able to achieve in demonstrating how we view treatment of workers. And I want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, and to the public, to the people of Barbados, that this is a reflection of our commitment to the workers of this country. And so as we develop our governance, as we continue to engage with employers, ourselves, as well as employers in the private sector and employers in the third sector, we say by many things we have done, but also by this bill and these bills that we're bringing to this honorable chamber today, we say to other employers, recognize that your workers are human beings. Recognize that they are partners in building an organization, whether it be a business or a not-for-profit organization. Your people are the people who will help in building your organization. That said, you cannot, by your words, say that you have a fantastic team of people and then jump them early Monday morning by saying you don't have a job. Those kinds of things do not reflect what your words are saying. And that is why, as a government, we are not just speaking the words, but we are putting in place the actions that say we recognize workers, their contribution, and our commitment. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, our obligation to respond to their legitimate expectations. And so with those words, Mr. Speaker, I commend these two bills to this honorable chamber. I commend these bills to the public of Barbados, and I say to them, as well as specifically to the 68 employees, former employees of the British American Insurance Company, that this government will continue to look out for you. It will continue to do good by you. It will, while taking into consideration all the constraints within which we operate, will do good by the people who have sent us to this place to lead and to manage their affairs. I'm obliged to you.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank the honourable member for St. Peter for his very, very kind words. The truth is, sir, that this entire government, sir, has been working from inception, sir, to respond as we can, sir, to the needs of the people of Barbados. And in so doing, whilst it has not been an easy journey, our commitment, sir, is to do just that, as the honourable member for St. Peter would have indicated. Just a little bit of clarity, sir. It might have been misinterpreted what it would have indicated in terms of Sagicor and this part of the portfolio. I was speaking specifically to the bill, but it is just as a matter of record in the event that there's any question. Sagicor also, sir, with respect to the life insurance business of British Americans, also took over that part of the portfolio. But this obviously just deals specifically with the pension plan this afternoon, so that's what I was referencing in terms of that. But, Mr. Speaker, this will settle, I think, not just the 68 persons, but certainly their families, sir, with respect to the increase in incomes for those 68 households. Of course, the 4 persons for whom the estates will not go into, then obviously I hope that obviously the beneficiaries of those funds, obviously those households will also benefit from this resolution. And so, sir, I beg to move that this bill be read a second time.
Question is that the aforementioned bill be read a second time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that you do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself in committee for further consideration of this bill.
The question is that the Speaker do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Clause 1.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 1 stand apart.
Clause 2.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 2 stand apart.
Thinks the ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that Clause 3 stand apart.
Question is that clause 3 stand apart. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that you do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee.
Question is that I do now report to the honorable speaker the passing of one bill in committee. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chairman of committees has reported the passing of one bill in committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a third time.
Question is that the aforementioned bill be read a third time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be now passed and cited as the British American Insurance Company, Barbados Limited, Preservation of Investments Amendment Act 2020.
The question is that the aforementioned bill be passed and so cited. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited.
Order 16, sir. Naming on the Minister of Finance to move passing of a resolution to approve in accordance with Section 6(1) of the British American Insurance Company, Barbados Limited, Preservation of Investment Act 2016, the issuance of 6 bonds in Sagicor Life Incorporated for an amount of $8.115 million in the terms and conditions set out in the schedule to the resolution.
Honorable member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution be read the first time.
Pass,
Pass?
pass.
This pass? Oh, sorry. I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
The question is that the resolution be now passed. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, with that, we've come to the end of today's sitting. I beg to move that the House be suspended until Monday at 2 p.m. Monday, 2 p.m. Thank you, Madam.
The question is that this honorable chamber be suspended until 2 p.m. Monday. That's the 9th day of March, 2020, at 2 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until Monday, the 9th day of March, 2020, at 2 p.m.